Oh, it's okay. Here. This should be fine. She will share.
One, 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 one. So maybe you can be somewhere else. سروران عزیز can you hear me? Okay.
Hello. Should we approach to the arena? Hey everyone. I will invite you to grab a drink, pizza, cookie, snack, everything, and go. And so we can start maybe. We have some people joining us virtually, so it will be nice. Um, Make sure you go to the bathroom as well. Please, please, please. If I was like, when you know that you have to say, open up, and there are more people. So we have more people there. Support. The agenda by 10 minutes. Yes. But what? This is an exercise. Can you do it for me? And then I do it for you. Sure. Everything's 1 minute. Uh-huh. has. Yeah. Yeah. Moment to start. Hi, everyone. I know you have been sitting here for a while, but thank you so much for coming. I will give you the official welcome. So, yeah. Welcome to Tech Innovations Unleashed, brought to you by Onefootball in collaboration with Women TechMakers Berlin. Tonight, we are diving into the exciting world of product tech, design, and engineering, led by some incredibly influential women in the industry. So get ready for an evening full of insights, ideas, and inspiration. From groundbreaking innovations to creative solutions, we will explore how these women are shaping the tech industry and pushing boundaries like never before. Mm. But hey, it's not just about tech, right? It's also about the story behind. Here, you will hear firsthand about the challenges, trumps, and everything in between. So, buckle up. Let's unleash some serious tech magic and celebrate the brilliant women in tech. Let's get started. So, before I will introduce myself, here you can also see part of the Onefootball team of organizers. Yeah, I'm Aura. I come from Colombia. I have been in Onefootball for almost 3 years. I studied international business, but I moved into the HR field back then. Yeah, here I have the possibility to help many people and also get to know them. As you can see, I'm not very tech oriented in my role, but it's very nice to be here. I'm very excited to also, as a person, learn about what you are all sharing. So that's very excited. And yeah, here you can see the team is Ragav, Andrea, Ali, Henor, and Hannah. They help us to organize here Onefootball office for the event. And of course, the other part of the organizers you will meet later in the next slides. Um, yes, can you move the next slide? So I know and I see many Onefootball faces here. Nevertheless, I think it's important to tell you more about who we are as a company. So, Onefootball was founded in 2008. It's a leading football platform for a new generation of mobile-first football fans. We have plans to become the football marketplace for content, products, and services in the future. It serves over 200 million people every month through its own and operated platform and video distribution network, bringing fans closer to the game with news, highlighting, live streaming, and more. So Onefootball is backed by the biggest clubs in the world of football. You can see them here, for example. If you're a football fan, you will recognize them easily without name them. Onefootball partners with over 200 clubs, leagues, federations, players, and broadcasters to bring their content to the football platform across 194 markets, and with a video distribution network that includes around 250 premium publisher partners globally. So I know that's a lot of numbers. Here you can see it better in the slide. And as you can see, tech is very important for us as a company. That's why we're very excited to host this event. Um, but also, we are very excited to get to know more about Women Tech Makers Berlin. So let's go to the next slide, please. And here with my next person. Thank you.
So, hello, I am Seemram, and I'm one of the organizers from Women TechMakers. And there's Bukola with me, who is also an organizer, and we both are organizing today's event. So, yes, I would just give a short intro about what we do and what this Women TechMakers is about. So, yeah, Google Women TechMakers program provides visibility to the community and resources for women in tech. So our goal is to provide diversity, but the name suggests that it's just women in tech, but that's not what is our focus, just to bring diversity with women, but it also is about bringing diversity where people want to switch careers or people want to start in tech late in their life, or like if you're a parent and you just have difficulty uh, joining in tech here in Berlin. So that's what we do. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we kicked off in Google Berlin office, and it's been 9 years since we have started this. And yeah, that's just a few pictures from the first event. The next one, please. And yes, of course, like behind every event and every team, every organization, there are organizers. And that's Bukola, that's me, and we have Anna, who is also one of the oldest organizers, and she's always there, present actively on Slack. So I think a lot of you must have seen her. And she also hosts a lot of virtual events. Then we have Ruba and Niveta, and Nitli is the founder or the person who started Google Women Tech Makers. Next one, please. And for today, we have 3 volunteers. So every event always needs a volunteer to make it successful. And for today's event, we have these 3 people: June, Marilyn, I think she's not here today, and Naida, who is helping with the streaming, and this is June. The next one, please. Next slide. No. And if you want to know more about what WTM is, we have a link, and you can take you can scan it and get the link and know more about. Can you just move to the next one? What we do, and this is what the link would look like. So if you want to be a speaker for our events, you can just submit a talk or join our Slack channel. By the way, Slack community is around 3,000 people. So that's quite big, I would say. And we also have our own Berlin page where we post blogs and just a few more information on our WTM Berlin. Then we also have our Twitter, Facebook, and all the social media platforms. And we have our own GitHub repo. So if anybody of you are interested, can just contribute to our GitHub repo and help the community grow and support them. Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah. So what do we do? It's not just technical events. There are a lot of other things. Of course, it surrounds with technical events. So we have the first 3 events, which are the biggest events that we host every year. The first one is International Women's Day that happened recently. If you guys follow us on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you must have seen a lot of posts. And then the next one is DevFest and Google I/O Extended. So this is a more extensive or a bigger event because it's not just the Women Tech Makers organizers, but also the other parts of Google technical teams that organize these events. Then we have public speaking training, talks and conferences. We help find people jobs, internship, not just in Berlin, but across Germany, so people can post. If you have any questions, we have different channels for different topics. We also provide tickets, conferences. To the conferences, we have special meetups. That's like Parents in Tech Conference to help people and bring more diversity to the community. And of course, we have monthly technical meetups where a lot of people must have seen on the Meetup or our GDG page. That's pretty much what we do. Bukola, I think I would just hand it over to Bukola for now.
Thank you, Seemram. Hi, everyone. My name is Bukola Johnson, and like Seemram said, I'm one of the organizers at Google Women Tech Maker Berlin. Our events and pictures. So past years, we've had several events across different companies, just like you, just like we are doing here with Onefootball. Can we see the next slide? Yeah, so these are just a couple of pictures we've taken to keep our memories alive. And we have people like John here that helps us with all these pictures. You can go to the next slide. We have something we call Parent and Tech Day. We added previously, so if you're a parent here, I think I saw Inga is expecting a baby already. So if you're a parent already, you can also join our events. We have events for mommies, daddies. Everyone is welcome in our events. We had this event for Deaf Fest. So we don't only do women events, we do event across tech, but our focus is for women, like empowering women in tech. But we also do other events apart from women in tech event, like Deaf Fest, we bring together all tech engineers or everyone that does tech. So yeah, this was the first last year. And we had International Women's Day, which is Women Tech Maker Dare to Be. That was the event theme for last year, if I'm correct. These are some of the pictures we took. This took place at the Google office. Google is our sponsor. Like the initiative is Google. Google is behind the scene for all these initiatives. But we have sponsors from different companies, just like Onefootball is sponsoring us today. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so these are just some pictures, random pictures, so I don't bore you with all the pictures. Let's get to the next slide. Yeah, this was just recent. So we had International Women's Day. What's the theme again, if I can remember? Impact the future. So this happened just last month at I've forgotten the name of the venue now. Sorry. But these are the pictures we took. It was a wonderful event. We had a couple of speakers. That's one of our speakers. I think we had like 4 speakers. And yes, for the agenda today, we are going to start with a talk from Mora, who is one of the Onefootball colleagues. And in between all talks, we'll be having break. And the essence of this break is for you to network with people. Please ensure you network. Don't just be a loner. Try to meet 1 or 2 people. The essence of our event is to help people network together because especially people just starting out in tech, they struggle sometimes. So in case you're already experienced and you see someone that is new in tech today, try and network with them and maybe be their mentor. After that, we'd have a break. We would have a talk from our very own Sowmya guru. She's one of our supporters at Women Tech Maker Berlin. We wouldn't have a break. This break, they are intentional so that you can network, we can network. We're not just talking. We would have a talk from Phoebe. Phoebe is one of the colleagues here at Onefootball. Yeah. So she would be telling us about why designing products for football fans is the ultimate reward. Can I see some football fans here? No football fun. Okay. So we would have another break after the talk. During the talk, try and talk to the speakers and ask them, maybe ask questions about their talk. So after the break, we would have a talk from our very own mommy, expecting mommy Inga. She's going to talk about enhancing monetization strategies, leveraging business acumen as a PM. And then after that, we would have a closing notes. Then there will be networking and refreshment. So I hope we don't get to bore you with all of this. I believe it's not going to be boring. It's going to be so interesting. The talk from Sowmya is interesting. The talk from Phoebe, Inga, and Anna. So can I have the next slide? Thank you. So some housekeeping. Please try to respect everyone beside you, sitting beside you, or everyone here. We need to respect one another. If you notice anyone doing anything that you feel disrespectful, please call on the organizers. You can see on our tag organizer, we have Seemram here as well and the volunteers. The bathroom is to my to this side, like, is this like left or right? Yeah, just go straight and then to the right-hand side. The bathroom is there. And yeah, I think just try and respect one another today. The next slide. Then we follow the Berlin Code of Conduct at all our events. This conduct are things like you should not be making noise when the event is ongoing. You should respect the speaker. You should not harass anybody. If you feel offended, please call on the volunteers and just be, what's the right word now? Yeah, just be a good person. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So we have Wi-Fi in-house, courtesy of Onefootball. Maybe you want to scan it if you need to be connected to the internet. Please, you can scan it, and we have it, thanks to Ali. We have it on some of the boards. Please connect, because we want you to take a picture and tweet at us. Our handle is at WTM Berlin, but you can use the hashtag WTM Berlin as well and tag us. Also tag Onefootball to say thank you to them for having us today. You know, it's not easy to host an event. So that's the Wi-Fi access. And yes, we like to keep memories alive. If you're not camera shy like me, please access our photo album, drop all your pictures there, and we would be able to post this in our next event to tell other people how we were able to have an event at Onefootball. So we have that photo album accessible to everyone. Okay, so Women Tech Maker community, like maybe you're here, you want to become an ambassador, like myself and Seemram. You want to host events, you want to join the community, that's the link to join, to become a member. So you can first start as a member and then transition into an ambassador. Okay, thank you. I would hand over to Seemram to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you, Bukola, and I hope everybody got a gist of what we do. And yeah, so I'm excited that we start with the event and our first speaker, Anna. So I would just talk a little about what Anna is. So Anna is a senior product manager specializing in personalization and engagement, originally from Spain and now calling Berlin home. She started her professional journey in journalism and advertising. Interestingly, her first job unexpectedly led her into the world of product management, a role she instantly fell in love with. Over the years, Anna has worked on a diverse range of products from tourism to TV apps, and she's here today to share her insights on the iterative approach to personalizing football content. So please give a warm welcome to our first speaker of the day.
Thank you very much, Seemram. Cool. So thank you everyone for coming. Today, I want to talk about the iterative approach to personalizing football content. But before, just quick thing, I sometimes start to speak really fast. So if you can make me a sign and I will try slowing down. Cool. So let's dive into the fascinating world where technology meets passion. This is football content personalization. Imagine a world where every football fan gets access to content that is tailored to their preferences and interests. This is our vision. And this is what we want to, where we want to get to through many iterations and using our home as our lab. So before I talk about the product journey itself, I would like us to understand the landscape. So football is not just a sport. Football is a phenomenon that unites people across cultures, across backgrounds and continents. And the content created about it ranges from in-depth analysis to football memes and everything in between. And in order to provide a good personalized experience, we need to learn a lot from our users and we need to learn about our users, and we want to do it through iterations, getting to know them a lot better. Next slide, please. Which brings me to the question. why is the role of personalization important? When I think, as I was saying, about the diversity about football fans, some of them like to watch in-depth analysis of the matches. Some of them like to enjoy the drama surrounding the transfers and off the pitch events. And by personalizing content, we ensure that each of these fans gets exactly what they are looking for, and hopefully enhancing their overall experience and engagement with our app. So now let's talk about the how we want to achieve this vision. By a show of hands, how many of you here have heard about iterative approach before on development? Quite a lot of people. For the ones who have never heard about this before, it means taking a big project or a big idea and sizing it down in smaller bite-sized pieces that we deliver to the users, and we are able to then see if we are improving their experience as we go, instead of just doing something new, putting it on their faces and seeing what happens. So the reason why we chose this approach in personalization is because our effort in Onefootball is starting from scratch. There was nothing there, and there is so many things that we need to do in order to fulfill our role. And this is the best way of doing it little by little and ensuring along the way that we're not harming content consumed, which is our main metric as a team. And yeah, so that way, this way we can actually control what we're doing, when we're doing it, does it work, does it don't, and this is why we chose this approach. Having said this, let's dive into the steps that we have already taken. Thank you. So in the first iteration, we wanted to experiment with an endless feed that you see here. The thing with the Onefootball home is that it was a set of static galleries that were manually curated. So for us in the personalization, it was difficult to make content appear new, appear fresh, and appear different to users in general. So we started with this feed that is more similar to what we see every day in our social apps. And we were actually able to prove that this fosters content consumed. So it was a good first step for our journey. Which takes me to the second iteration. Thank you. We actually made our whole home this endless feed, transitioning from the static galleries and into the immersive stream where users can see all the news. We also divided the home into streams, as you can see there. For you on top news, for you is the stream that is somewhat personalized because we're getting there to our users, and top news is a place where we still manually create the content. I will talk about more about this later. Also, something that we did in this second iteration, and that for us it was really important, is that we started sourcing user interaction data. This is the basics of personalization, and this is the way we get to inform our personalization engine of what the user needs. Please, next slide. Thank you. Oh, sorry, can you go back? So very important. From this iteration, we learned that this layout does not only foster content consumed, but it only fosters the amount of time a user visits our home every day. We also saw that users watch a lot more videos in this endless stream compared to where they have the video galleries here on our first homepage. However, we do see that articles work better when they are manually curated, as for today. So this is what gives us the hint that we still need to work a lot on personalization and need to do a lot of iterations to get to a point where we are as good as a human. Let's see. Now we can go to the next one, please. Thank you. So now and soon next, what we are doing is applying the personalization, improving it, informed by the data that we're sourcing now in this first iteration that we already released, and confident that our content layout is comfortable for users. We are then connecting the dynamic endless stream to the personalization engine, hoping that we can then surface more interesting content for users as they scroll in our app. In upcoming iterations, we will continue to add content types, improving the layout, testing different experiments to foster engagement with our app. But most of all, we're committed to fine-tuning that personalization algorithm. That secret sauce that gives every user what they are looking at, they're looking for in every second, and that gives them additional closeness to football because they are getting exactly what they need and not any random content that they can find. None of this would be possible without data. So not only the personalization itself, but the iterative approach relies heavily on the data that we're getting every day to see if we're actually improving or not the experience. But the biggest job is deriving these meaningful insights from this data. With this data, we can create smarter user profiles that can enhance the experience of our users from the very first time that they download the app. Also, with this data, we can promote content to the right audience and make our content more viral within our platform if we suggest it to the correct people. And most important of all, with this data, we are not boxing ourselves as a football company to show only content related to your team. Football goes beyond your team, and our objective is to be able to offer all of these work to our users. Another important thing is that we want to balance automation and human touch. As I was saying, for now, the human curation works a lot better than personalization, but we still want to keep this thought process, I would say, behind it, something that it feels natural and organic, and it's not just an algorithm working. Next slide, please. Of course, personalizing football content comes with a lot of challenges. The ones that we are presented right now are algorithm biases and content quality. Recommendation algorithm can be susceptible to bias, and they can recommend content that is not necessarily inclusive or can be discriminatory. And for us, it's essentially to continue monitor these so it doesn't happen in our app. So we are a safe place for our users. And while doing that, we want to still ensure that the content we're offering is a good one, because we get thousands of articles every day, and we still want to promote the ones that are worth reading. So looking ahead, the future of personalization, it's incredibly exciting, to be honest. We want to continue learning. We want to continue evolving our toolbox of artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, and we are set to deliver even more tailored experiences to football fans worldwide. And whether it's recommending niche content or creating community engagement, the possibilities are absolutely endless here. In conclusion, the iterative approach for us is a new way of interacting with our users. It represents a significant evolution of how we're interacting with our fans. And by leveraging data, by embracing technology and human touch, and by refining our recommendations algorithm, we want to create experiences that resonate on a personal level. So we will continue to innovate, iterate, and hopefully enrich the experience for football fans everywhere. Thank you very much, everyone. Any questions? Phoebe, please.
I actually don't think I know the answer. Are you then, how many people are you testing the personalized feed with? How big is the test group?
So as for yesterday, actually, we're in 6%. This is 40K users in our use base of over 200 million per month. So it's not a big test yet, but we did want to be really sure that we're not harming any of our current metrics, right? That we can do better than what the old technology is doing.
Yeah, hi. I know you mentioned some information about the data, but I was wondering, how do you gather the data? do you have like data engineers doing this, or do you also automate this as well?
Both sides actually. We do have a lot of few data engineers in the company, and they are very helpful. But we also connected our apps directly to Mixpanel, which is a tool where I can make my dashboards for the data, and I can actually go myself instead of having to do this query or SQL or whatever. We have a nice interface where I can just click through and find everything I need. So that's very cool actually, and if I would recommend this tool.
What kind of behavioral data do you collect from your users?
So for personalization, we're collecting a lot of data, to be honest. We're collecting what they click on, what they don't click on, what they were looking for a long time without clicking. All of these gives us information of what the user is actually interested in, and this is what we use for our personalization engine. For the data that we were mentioning before, so the one that I use to check if we're improving or not, this is a lot more simpler. It's just about clicks on things, completely anonymous. I don't know who's behind these clicks. It's just it tells me where people are going in the app. I hope that answers your question.
Just to add on to this question, what are the tools are you using to gather this data?
The personalization or the product
So
data.
these kind of where do the user clicks, or so how do you the users are behaving with the application? So how do you gather? Are you using any tool to gather this?
So as for development, I don't think we're using any tool specifically. We're just implementing the events that we want to track. And then these go into our data warehouse. And from there, we can already see them in different places. I hope I'm answering your question.
I assume you perhaps made some hypotheses before you run various tests. Was there anything that really surprised you that you maybe didn't think was going to happen when you then looked at the results?
So actually the video thing surprised me a bit. Like Onefootball has this thing where users don't seem to be a lot into video. And as soon as we introduce the new stream where it's endless and they just run into the videos as a normal piece of content, then here they seem to interact with it. So this was something I was not expecting, to be honest. I'm happy about it. We can definitely use that, and we will. But that was not something I was expecting. That was a question. Thank you.
And how do you test it? Do you do like, I understand you do some quantitative research. Do you do also some qualitative? Do you do some interviews with users to understand how they interact?
Not right now, to be honest.
Okay.
We're just doing A/B testing with live users, seeing how they interact with a new version of the app. We do want to start doing some user researching, but yeah, company reasons. I wish I knew more, to be honest. One day. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. I think we have 10 minutes for break. Maybe we'll make it 5 minutes since we started late. So please stand up, network, say hello to someone, share your LinkedIn profile. Can we start coming back to the hello? Please let's come back to our seats so we can start. Hello, can we hear me? We're starting in 1 minute. Please come back to your seats so we can start. There'll be a lot of time for networking, trust me. There will be another 5 minutes after now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, that's for me? Yeah. Thank you. Hello.
Welcome back. So after our short break, we will have an amazing talk. Here is Sowmya Guru. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She's the head of engineering at Ubirch Gmbh and CTO at Night Owl Labs. Yeah. So Ubirch Gmbh is a climate action company enable ESG reporting and also as the CTO and founder of 9O Labs, which helps small businesses and entrepreneurs to build delightful products. So we are very excited to hear more about you. Welcome.
Thank you, Aura. Hello, everyone. As you know, my name is Sowmya. I moved to Berlin 9 years ago, so I would consider Berlin my second home now. And yeah, I've been working as head of engineering at Ubirch Gmbh since last year. And I have my own company called Untitled Labs. And yes, we build amazing seamless products, which is in touch with latest technologies. So today I would like to talk a little bit about ESG reporting. I know it sounds a little boring for this crowd who's talking about more of football and things like that, but I assure you it's going to get interesting. I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. So how many of you here know what ESG is? Okay, cool. That's fine. You know what sustainability is, right? And you know that companies are supposed to be complying on certain levels of how much greenhouse emissions they do, and now there are laws to comply, right? So let's, on the similar lines, ESG is basically environmental, social, and governance, which are like the three pillars of sustainability reporting. And now it's becoming more and more crucial, as you know, the most important and pressing issue of the world currently is climate change. So what we're building at Ubirch is basically a sustainability report based on environmental greenhouse gas emissions for big companies, actually any company. So for businesses to comply and to disclose their data as to how they are creating these greenhouse gas emissions, right? Every business creates greenhouse gas emissions, but now it's all the more important to declare how they're creating and whose services they're using, etc. So that's the background of ESG reporting, and I will be talking more about it. But the most important thing today I'll be focusing on is certification of these reports. So you all know what digital certificate is, right? So many of you might even know what a cryptographic certificate is, I guess. So I think then you're the right kind of audience, but I'll try to use as simple terms as possible so you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. So just to give you a little bit of history, first, the overview, as you can see, first I'll be giving a little bit of history of why I'm talking about digital certificate. And then we'll talk about data provenance. Again, another jargon I understand, but we'll get to that. And to understand a digital certificate, we need to understand a digital signature, what it means. And then I will talk about the digital corona certificate, which is the interesting part. You might be already used it. I'm pretty sure if you're in Germany, you would have used a digital corona certificate during corona. And I'll be talking a little bit about the technology behind it. And last but not least, I'll be talking how at Ubirch we have been reapplying this technology and re-innovating in the space of sustainability reporting. Okay, so many of you or most of you have used the CoPass app. Yeah. So you have seen the QR code on the CoPass app, right? And everywhere at border control, restaurants, anybody would be just able to scan it and see all your metadata based on if you're had your vaccination, if it's a valid certificate or not. So in simple terms, it would verify whether it's a valid certificate. And at Ubirch, we actually build the technology behind the digital corona certificate. So just to give you an example of how quickly it was done within 3 months since the inception to release. So on June 10th, it was released, and every member state in the EU participated in this, and they were also testing it to see and check interpolability to see if this certificate is readable and verifiable within the EU states. And the API and the front end for doctors, hospitals, organizations who were actually issuing this certificate was built by Ubirch, and the mobile app CoPass was built by IBM. And this was done for Germany. And also there were different IT partners because, you know, Germany is not alone. Like we have 16 states where each state is a partner in themselves and they would have their own restrictions, etc. So you know how complicated Corona was, those times were. So that was the grandeur of the situation. And some exciting statistics. This was the first when it was released in June 13, 2021. And as you can see, there were quite a lot of digital corona certificates that had been issued. And as you can see, some of the statistics also show who were the issuers. You know, there were also pharmacies who were allowed to issue. There were thousands of doctors, AIMS centrums, etc. So let's talk a little bit about data provenance. If this COVID certificate was, let's say somebody, an individual was supposed to issue it, right? Anybody could issue it. As a programmer, maybe I could issue it. Do you think it would have the same value as that was issued by the government or the Bundesland, right? I don't think so. So that's where data provenance comes to picture. So what it means is how the data is produced. how the data is produced and how it's authenticated, and also it tracks the integrity of the data. So once the certificate is signed, you cannot really change it. It's immutable. And also it checks for like who is the sender. So the credibility of the sender. So anybody cannot send and you cannot just accept that as a certificate, right? So it checks for authenticity, the integrity of data, and also origin, who's the sender of the data. So that means then we can trust that it is from a trusted sender, a credible authority, and then you can be sure that it's a valid certificate. So just for people who don't understand the concept of digital certificates, how it is. So a digital certificate, so it's just some metadata, right? It could be a document. It would have some metadata. In your case, let's say for COVID, you would have your name, your vaccination details, and it would be valid for a particular period of time. So these certificates can expire, and that can be set as to when it needs to expire. And they are then digitally signed, which is basically cryptographically signed by an issuer. And this issuer could be, in our case, a hospital, doctor's office, or any other pharmacy, etc. So this is how the metadata of a digital corona certificate look like. As you would have probably seen when you went for a vaccination, there will be given names, family name, date of birth, vaccine type, like Moderna, Pfizer, etc. And then you would also have date, and that I don't understand what those number is. Probably it's for the healthcare or physicians. Okay. So basically how this worked, I think as a user, you would know that a doctor would be issuing a vaccination record. So as of now, it's still a record because it's not signed yet. So that would be basically sent to our CoPath issuer, which is the backend of Ubirch. And that would be also through an encrypted MTLS tunnel. So we make sure that during the transit, there is no, middle person attacks or, phishing, etc. And once the authenticity is verified, then the CoPath issuer would actually create this vaccination record into a vaccination certificate. So then it would be signed. And as Ubirch would be the official representative, like an intermediary who would be handling the signing of these certificates. And as you know, like, let's say somebody got hold of the public key while signing, right? So we need to be able to also trust that anybody who's issued this certificate is verified. So that means the EU, the European Union, actually maintained a trust list where all the public keys which were issued by the certificate authority would be uploaded to. It means when somebody at the border control, let's say, wanted to verify your certificate, then they would actually have, they would download the public key and verify against it to see if it's an authentic certifier. So I know this is a little bit intense, but bear with me. So how does it work? So what happens is the data issuer signs, along with the private key, they create a cryptographic hash for the document, right? And then that is sent along with their public key, which is published for everyone to check against. So once you have signed and sent the data, the certificate authority verifies this and checks the authority of the data issuer. So in our case, if it's a doctor, we have to know that it's a verified doctor and not any random person sending this over the internet, right? And then after their authenticity is confirmed, then the CA would sign with their public key and basically attach a cryptographic signature, which is called the seal in our case, and uploads it to the trustless. So this public key should be uploaded to the trustless. And as I said, this would be managed by the European Union itself. So if anybody would have to verify this, then they would have to use that as the lookup. And once the verification succeeds, then you would have a digitally signed certificate, which is basically then handed over to a patient. And in the whole process, you would, one of the things that we did was that it was so GDPR friendly that we never stored any data of the patient on any storage, never was persisted. It would only survive for like a couple of seconds until it was verified and signed and attached and then sent. So basically there was no data of any healthcare professional, any user, as a user, none of the person's data or vaccination report was stored anywhere in the cloud or any place. So as you have understood how the digital corona certificate worked, I just want to show you like the similar technology currently is used for sustainability reporting. So what the only changes that you would see that is that the issuing authority here would be Ubirch, and every company who signs is actually would be using their own seal. So they will be signing cryptographically themselves when they actually publish a report. That means they are responsible for the reporting. And the validity of the certificate is now set to 10 years. So if you ever see an ESG report online, then you know how long it's valid for, and if it's issued by Ubirch, of course. So this what is the tool that we have built. It's called ESG Data Exchange Network, because basically every company who signs up needs to also bring their suppliers, because you can't just do your ESG reporting just by yourself, right? Because you use suppliers, you use collaborators, businesses outside. Let's say you use 100 computers, you would have to know how much of CO2 emissions Apple or any other company is creating for you to run that business. So it's not just for one business itself. So it's a network of businesses which will also be reporting and using other people's report. So say, for instance, I reported, say Apple reported per MacBook, they are creating so many tons of CO2 emissions. Then you can easily use their report to report when you buy MacBook and when you're using for your company, then you know how much emissions you're creating indirectly. So there are certain concepts around ESG reporting. That is, there are 3 types, which is scope 1, 2, and 3. And this is one of the examples of the certificate. This is how a ESG report looks like. I would like to show you just one more thing. So I know it's not very clear, but yeah. So basically this is how a report looks like, how you would enter metadata into this. It's called a disclosure. So you're disclosing your ESG report. So it's for a reporting period. Say, for example, your business wants to report how much GHG emissions they created for the last year. Then they would have to use a reporting period. And then there is a method which I don't want to really get into because it's mostly very, yeah, it's quite a lot to understand in one session. So just overall, just to give you an example, this is how scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, which means broadly the emissions you created, the emissions you created indirectly by buying somebody's service, and then also, let's say there are scope 3 where you are using business travel or you're purchasing some goods and services, etc. So you would put all this metadata here, and then once you submit this metadata, you would see a disclosure, something like this. So this is a cryptographically signed certificate, which is basically this company declaring that this was their greenhouse gas emissions for that particular year. And just to verify the authenticity of the certificate, this is a verifier, and this is how it's a base 64 based certificate, and this is how we verify the authenticity of the certificate. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to show today. Oh. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I hope you found it interesting. Yeah, so questions?
Very official. You said you have very, very big customers. What kind of customers are they?
Companies, actually anybody could use the product, right? Now it's a law that you have to declare the ESG reporting. So by 20, if I'm not wrong.
Everybody has to declare, like every company.
Yes.
Wow.
So, but mostly after a certain threshold, I'm not sure about the logistics of it, but most of the multinational or after a certain threshold of what their income is, most of the industries have to declare their ESG reports now. So you would see that you'll be receiving emails or messages saying, oh, this created so much GHG emissions. You know, if you notice, also you'll see in your, I don't know, tickets, for instance, this trip costed so and so, and so literally every business should be doing it.
Thanks.
Sure.
What companies do you find your customers are using for recording their CO2 emissions? So I know that CarbMe is one company and EcoVatis maybe another one, but do you integrate with any of them for this data?
No, I don't know any of these companies. So what kind of data are you talking about?
Recording your CO2 data, right? So recording this information before
right.
it gets verified. So I was just wondering what companies
there are a
your
lot of
customers
companies doing that, I believe, probably, but the certification technology is something that our company is doing as a unique value proposition.
And I just wanted to ask as well, so obviously for companies, when you're purchasing from another company, obviously very interesting looking at their CO2, the certification. Do you see this technology as something you might find on the goods that you buy in a store as well, as like something that, that consumers would also look at to verify? And
absolutely, like basically going forward, every product you have it in your hand probably will have to publish how much it costed a company to produce the product, right? So I would say it's becoming more popular because the EU laws are becoming more stringent. So I think in next 2 years, at least you'll be hearing more about everyone, like big MNCs at least, having to publish. Of course, it's really hard to say right now, because if you're a big company, how would you track every single supplier down and get their data and their emissions? So it's a big challenge, but they also have different ESRS standards. So they have like a standard rule book as to how to start doing it. So this is like a good first step, I would say, to start reporting. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Did I understand correctly that you said it took you guys 2 to 3 months to build the product that then integrated with, was it called Co-Path?
Yeah.
That we're trying to forget about.
That's right.
Yeah. Could you give us a little like peek into what kind of your processes were between product and engineering team at that very strange time where you only had 2 to 3 months to kind of
Yeah,
build this?
I honestly, as I mentioned earlier, I started last year, which was in 2023.
Ah, sorry, you
and
did say
this
that,
was in
okay.
2021, the statistics, etc., that I was showing. So I was not a part of the building the DCC structure, infrastructure, but I am actually, I started building along with my team, of course, the ESG reporting tool. And so we have reapplied the technology, just that it's a really different kind of, even though it's a digital certificate, it's not the same, right? So this was, it had much more, the gravity of the situation was more intense, I think, with DCC, but yeah. But yeah, I heard it was very intense. So yeah, I mean, working with partners like EU states, I am pretty sure is not that easy to be able to test it. So.
I'm curious as to kind of like what normal processes just had to go out the window in order to just get stuff done.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were like people crunching every weekend, and it was a very intense time, and many people were like complaining even for years later. So, but it was for a good cause, right? I
Yeah.
would say it
Yeah,
helped
thanks to
a
your
lot.
team, yeah.
So we could just go out actually and cross borders, or even like go to a restaurant even, right? So yeah.
I'm curious, what kind of data companies have to provide for these reports, and how do they track it? Because you mentioned it's difficult to track, especially when you are a big company, no?
Yeah. So as I was showing you the demo, there are a lot of companies already publishing these reports. So you can, it's kind of hard to track it. So, but they do report it per year or for a particular period of time that they produce so much emissions. So for instance, like a very granular one would be a flight, for instance. So you could clearly see which airline or I don't know, which flight caused less emissions versus more, right? So again, as I said, there are different scopes to how you track and who is producing these emissions. So one would be directly you produced it. Let's say you manufactured something, it caused a lot of emissions, so directly you're contributing. And second would be you bought electricity and it's coal and not green energy, so again, that is a lot more because according to the standards, green energy has 0 emissions, but debatable, but let's say it's 0 emissions. And scope 3 would be like indirectly, say as employees, you use business travel, you do certain things that would produce indirect emissions. So all of this would be calculated, but again, you do as much as possible. So whichever data you have, and it's also possible to, whatever data is declared on the open source in the open world, you can use that to cross-refer only if it's an authentic source, of course. So, yeah.
I'm thinking maybe it's just more question, but I could imagine to get this started, and especially for all the small companies, you don't get the correct data at once.
Yeah.
Do you have like estimates for
Yeah.
like typical types
Sure.
of companies and so on, and you work with those until you get the real numbers or something like that?
Yeah, it's possible to provide a ballpark estimate. For instance, an industry estimate would be like, say, for travel industry, there would be a benchmark. Travel industry produces so and so, I don't know, emissions. So if that's from a verified source, then you could definitely use that. And you could actually put as market based. So then you know that market is producing so and so emissions. Then we would calculate based on the market how much their emissions were. Yeah.
maybe it could be a very vague question, but it's the certification is only for the companies or also the individual who is like really feels responsible for such kind of things and wants to get and wants to say that know how much I waste. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
good question. I mean, this is, of course, for now, it's for businesses, but I mean, if you want to use the tool and see how much emissions you're producing, feel free.
so I can get the metadata you are asking for is
Yeah.
for very layman person as well can fill.
Well, you do need to have some experience with how to read the ESRS documents, and it's not that simple because that's why you have sustainability consultants doing this. It's really a domain in itself. So definitely, it's not as easy, but also if you are interested in that field, you can definitely look into it. Yeah, everything is out there. So yeah.
So guides and everything is there.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure. All right. I think I would like to wind up so others will get a chance to speak. Thank you so much for listening. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sowmya, for that amazing talk. I hope you have questions after. We have 5 minute break. You can ask us some questions and network with people. Or we don't want to go on break. Should we start the next talk? Do you want some break? No? Okay, so I hand over the mic to amazing Anna to introduce the next speaker.
Well, the next speaker is already here. That's Phoebe. She's our senior product designer. So she started her career as graphic designer for a sports app. Phoebe then made the natural progression into product design. That's a natural one, seems like. And yeah, she currently designs for Onefootball in Berlin. So Phoebe, now is your time to shine. Come.
Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to not have the break then, so came straight up. But yeah, so hi everyone. As you know, I'm Phoebe, and I would really like to talk to you about my experience designing for very different users across the past few years. So yeah, I gave a really boring bio to the organizers, so maybe we can go to the next slide. I think it's actually 2 slides. Yeah, there's a quick bit of background. So I'm from Sheffield in the north of England. And since we're in the Onefootball offices, I do have a football fact about Sheffield. It is the home to the oldest football club in the whole world. So it was founded in 1857. It's no longer operating now, but it was the first football club in the whole world. Pretty cool. And yeah, after being in Sheffield, I moved here. And I moved here about 7 years ago now. I started off my design career for a small sports app here in Berlin. It's basically an app where you could find sports partners in your area. It didn't succeed, as a lot of startups don't, but I had a fantastic time. And after that, I went over to a procurement tech company, actually, and that's why I knew about ESG data, the hand up there. I'm actually going to talk quite a bit about that and what it was like designing for procurement users. And at that company, I transitioned into being a product designer, which I'm super happy about. And then, yeah, I was with them for like 4.5 years. And now I'm at Onefootball, where I'm a product designer, like I've said several times now. And I've been here for, yeah, about 1.5 years. So if you go to the next slide, please. I clap after the intro. Great, engaging audience. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this designing for procurement users, very different to football users. So when I started the company, I knew nothing about procurement, like literally nothing. It was like a completely different language to me. And as product designers, we use things called user personas. So they help us to get into the heads of our users. They help us to understand the characteristics, the motivations, the needs. And as I'm a visual person, I obviously had to kind of like visualize what a procurement person is. And so you can see when you do a quick Google image search, which you should never do for defining user personas, but I think it illustrates very nicely just how professional this industry is. It's very traditional. It's heavily process-based, and this was basically like a whole world that I didn't know about. So yeah, I think we can go into the next one, please. And I've also got the wrong piece of paper. I didn't really think this through with the paper and the mic. But yeah, some challenges I faced with this kind of user was that the industry is, and has been quite slow to digitalize, a lot of manual processes, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, a lot of data, and a lot of the pain points of the customers that we had were very nuanced to those customers. So we had like huge customers in aerospace and automotive and food and beverages, like huge billion-dollar customers, but then all of their pain points were so specific to them. So it's very hard every time we had a new customer to get into that. And then also our contact people were almost end users. So as a product designer, we weren't really talking with the actual people that were using our product because we didn't have access to them. So it was quite frustrating. And then on top of that, the usage of the product was really low because we were working with really small teams, so that we really couldn't rely on data to like help us make decisions. And with it being B2B, there was no forums, no App Store reviews or anything. So it was really, really challenging. And if you go to the next slide, please. So what did we do to try and get around that? We focused a lot on internal champions, so building relationships with people within those companies who like really wanted the project to succeed. They would never be the end users, but they would help us get access to those end users. And sometimes we got usability testing sessions, sometimes we got a bit of feedback, but not much really. And then another thing that we did is we worked with other, I don't know if I'm doing that. We worked with other colleagues in the business, for example, customer success teams, and they actually built it into their processes to try and gather feedback because they did have access to the end users. So it was very one-sided, and it wasn't perfect, but we did sort of get around it. Summary, really tough, not great for a product designer, a lot of limitations, and yeah, a bit hard work. And then we go to football. Which is completely different, like literally a whole other world. Yes, so doing the same exercise again with the Google image search, which you shouldn't do for user personas, but for the purpose of this presentation, you can see that it's all about emotion and passion. It's definitely not traditional in terms of the B2B environment. There's people from all sorts of walks of life. And now, especially with the rise in women's football, we're across with different genders as well, which is super exciting. And as well as that being Onefootball, we're a B2C app. So our users actually want to be here, which is amazing. So yeah, about football fans a little bit, because I think we don't have everybody being a football fan here, even though Anna gave a bit of color about that. So being a football fan, it's not just about the 90 minutes of the game, it's everything surrounding that. And most football fans have actually grown up being football fans. It's part of their identity, it's part of their DNA. Their parents are the same football fans of the same teams. It's a huge part of community, so it brings together people, like I said, from all walks of life. Very engaged, very excited, and like I said before, it's B2C. So compared with the B2B company I was working with, the users actually want to be here, which is good, and sometimes also means that they tell us exactly what they want all the time. So what does that mean for getting feedback? because they are so passionate, they are giving us a lot of feedback, which is fantastic. And as product designers, it's like one of the most valuable things you can get in your product design process. And we don't really struggle for that at Onefootball. We have a lot of other challenges, of course, but getting feedback along the way is something that's not so hard. And when we design with user feedback, we have so much more confidence. It's such a much more enjoyable process. We have confidence in what we're building. We have knowledge. We have data. It's just generally a much more pleasant experience. I have an example from an App Store review. I think it illustrates quite nicely the kind of language that people use. So they said, only one thing that the app is lacking, broadcasting channels. Thanks to the developer, that's you guys. Thanks to the developer, I do appreciate your work. Please do it and your app will be the best. So it's like, it's kind of funny, but it's also amazing that you have people coming to you saying things like that, like voluntarily. And I couldn't ever imagine that in the last company. So yeah, this is amazing. But it also does also mean that when we do things wrong, we also hear about it. So there's a quick example. We lost access to a data provider that helps us with our live ticker, which is something that gives us, instead of watching live games, you get like little updates via text, and we lost provider for like a few hours, and we like knew about it immediately. I'm sure we had processes in place on the development side, but in the app stores, people were mad. They were not happy. And obviously that's not great for the business, but as a product designer, you really see like how passionate people are about our product. And that gives us signals in the future for other products. Like if you want to do something with the live ticker, we say, no, don't touch our live ticker because we know that the users love it. So it's just really, really rewarding as a designer having that input. And we go to the next slide. Yeah, and then just one final point on that user input is just the usage. Like it's insane. So we have 200 million monthly active users. Like that's just so many people compared to what I was doing in the last company. So it means every decision we make is at least data informed, if not fully data backed. And it gives us so much confidence as product teams, as a business. And it's also amazing if we think as maybe like designers, we really think this feature will be amazing, well, we can go with data and back that up. So it's designing with confidence and with knowledge, and it's great. And then also just the nature of the product is that it's all about content consumption. And so the potential there is huge. So you can go through the entire user journey and actually just keep going and going and going. As long as we have the right content and as long as we design it in the right way, the possibilities are kind of endless in what you can do and how long we can keep a user on for if we do it right. Here we go to the last slide, please. I have just one little last I have a video which just is purely personal and has no evidence at all, but it's just something that really made me think like designing for football fans is amazing. So I think if you can play it, please. So that was a football game in Portugal that I was at last summer, and the guy in front was using Onefootball. Like, it was amazing. Like the whole game, he was just checking it and checking it, checking the news about the match that he was at there, and then he was doing the stats, and then he was doing everything. And I just thought it was like, yeah, that's why we go to it, really. Thank you. I don't know if there's any questions because it was just about my experience, really, but.
Yeah, so I have a question because you mentioned you get a lot of feedback. So I'm curious how you manage this amount of feedback. Like, what is your way of managing?
So for the example that I gave with the App Store review, so that we get loads of App Store reviews on a daily basis, and we have a customer success team, and they are monitoring those, and they're either responding directly to the App Store reviews if they're like reports about bugs or if they're feature improvements, but then they're also monitoring them, looking for trends and reporting back to specific product teams or areas of the business that would find that useful, or they may be taking it directly to a product team if it's a fix. But that's just one area of feedback. But yeah, there's definitely being monitored, but there's a lot of it.
Because I'm product designer myself, so I wanted to ask, like, do you have maybe more like from some repository kind of point of view, like how do you have some repository for feedback or?
So when we have been running like user interviews, we've had a repository called Condense, and that's still active now. And that's for example, if you did user interviews, it records the interviews and then creates like AI generated insight. But you can also go in and tag and highlight and cluster, so you get little snippets, which is really helpful. It's like a little Wikipedia.
Well, thank you.
No worries.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm a marketer, and at my company, we're really trying to, wherever possible, bridge that gap between product and marketing. So my question is, how much do you work with the marketing team? And if so, what type of insights, what data, what information from the marketing team do you actually really value? Like kind of similar to this, but like really value when it comes to designing the product.
Great question. Thank you. So I would say that's possibly an area that we need to improve a little bit. We do work with the marketing and brand team when it comes to like working on campaigns and assets. And then we have something that I would know I'm involved in is like weekly product area meetings where we invite different stakeholders of the business and they would give certain updates, maybe flag things that are not great or talk about future campaigns, and we would collaborate in that way. But so far as the other additional questions, maybe I'm not fully involved in it because I'm further down in product design. But I would say it's probably something we need to work on a little bit. Yeah, Anna? But no, it's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm also in the phase of like working for my product from design to migrating to development. So I would like to know what kind of test you do in between when you hand it over before development to the developers.
So it really depends. In an ideal scenario, if you were introducing like a totally new feature or something new to your users, you would do prototypes. So you do something that's like either minimal design or minimal engineering effort. And then you would test that with a number of users, get feedback, understand the usability. Can they go from A to B? Can they complete what was intended? And then you have that certain amount of confidence. And then you would add more detail, so more design or more engineering to that. And you can just keep going for as long as you have time for. I would say we don't always have loads of time for those kinds of things, but you're always trying to get it in as much as you can. And if you don't have loads of time, you can do like really simple things like going around the office and asking people, or sometimes I ask like family and friends, because it's not like a super complex product. It's news consumption, video, it's football. So it's all about user experience and normal behaviors. So yeah, I think prototypes are going to be the best way to do it, low resource.
Cool. So you also do the prototype type testing with some specific tools, like where you analyze the clicks and analyze those things, or it's just the walk around to the friends and families and asking how does it look like, and is it fine to go for the development or not?
You can do both. So you can just test. We use, do you know Figma, the design tool? Yeah. So we just do creating prototypes in Figma, and they're linked screens, and then you can test it and get like qualitative feedback. So understanding that, but then there are tools where you can track like click success rate and completion rate, and then you could even finish it with a survey or something. So there are tools you can use to do that kind of thing. I don't use them personally, but if I did have access to them, I would definitely be using them.
All right.
Thank you for your question.
So this isn't really a question, it's just because you've spoken about your experience. I wanted to get your insight. So I want to tie this back to Anna's talk earlier, because she was talking about the iterative process. And I noticed a slight difference in the design because you had the top news and the For You page. So I was wondering if you can describe.
Good.
I was wondering if you could speak a bit about your experience from obviously the product designer perspective, and also tie back to the feedback. So, you know, the feedback from the users. So I just want to hear your experience. It's not really a question.
That's okay. So specifically about the home design.
Yeah, the iterative process. So how do you tie your work as a product designer along with the feedback from the audience back to the iterative process?
So first of all, the home you found there, that's the current home. So what you saw with Anna is like the things that they're testing with 6%. But how I would tie in the feedback, I think it's like more simple than you think, because you would get all this feedback. In a perfect world, you have an amazing user research team who helps you, and they organize the feedback, they recognize trends, they get insights, and then they actually do a lot of the work from telling you, like, this is really what we recommend you do. So if it's like, you know, X amount of users didn't find the, I don't know if that's me doing that, X amount of users couldn't complete the task, then you can say, okay, there's something wrong maybe with the layout here, or there's something wrong with the amount of steps it takes to do this, and then we would tweak it. But you know, you don't know 100% that it's the right thing to do, but then that's why you keep iterating and you keep testing and you keep going. And like, you can keep going forever, really. Like, product development is never done. It's just how much time you want to invest and how happy you are with, you know, what percent can do the task. But we work very closely with product managers. Thank you. Okay, I think we're done.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. That was a very nice talk. I think we're going on break now. If even if you guys don't want to go on break, we are going to take 5 minutes break or 10 so that you can network and meet people and also ask our speakers questions. I guess you have questions for Phoebe, for Sowmya, and Inga is coming after. Anna spoke before. Please ask them questions. Break time. And can I have the slide for the break? We have a Twitter handle. Can you read? So please tag us, take pictures, tag us, and Hello. It's time for our last talk. Can we come back to our seats? I know it's a short break. Testing mic 1, 2. Hello, 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 everyone. Yeah. Sorry that it was a short break. Sorry. Oh Lord, I feel bad. Okay. Would you mind joining? Can we have you guys? Can we have you there? Yeah. Yeah, some people. Where's everyone? People left already. Looks like I can't see anybody again. So, because of time, we have to go to the next talk. Sorry that the break was so short. I saw you all were networking and having fun. But we have to continue so we don't keep you too long here. So our next talk is by Inga. Inga is a senior product manager, monetization. I would like to understand what that means during our talk. Okay, so a little bit about her. I hope I can do a good job, but I would let her do more job on introducing herself. But I know she started as a marketing intern. She progressed through roles in art tech and developer relations, acquiring key skills in product ownership, agile development, and stakeholder management. Starting in B2B marketing, she progressed in roles in ad tech sales and account management, acquiring key skills in product ownership, agile development, and stakeholder management. Sorry, I know I'm repeating myself. Apologies. Now at Onefootball, Inga applies her extensive experience in B2C and B2B tech, focusing on customer journeys and monetization. Please welcome me on stage, Inga.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I will introduce myself later. So yeah, that's me in my teenage years when I was coloring my hair red. But yeah, my name is Inga Teiserskyte. If anyone's familiar with Lithuanian surnames, I'm from Lithuania. It's unpronounceable. So yeah, I will talk a little bit about where should I point this? Oh no, so sorry. Okay, then again, I will let's keep the slide. So I will focus a little bit about my journey, how I moved from business background to product, and also talk about the monetization at Onefootball and what we are doing in general, and me personally in a team. So a little bit about me. I have a degree in economics and marketing. I finished my first uni in Lithuania, and then I moved to Sweden for 2 years. To be honest, I was always a little bit passionate about tech, and I don't know about the other countries, but in Lithuania, even in early 2000s, if you were in high school, like everyone had to do programming. Yeah, I'm talking about like really early 2000, like Britney Spears and like these handbags in the armpit when they were still fashionable first time. And I did some extra classes, but I had to finish after I drew a cat with Turbo Pascal, and I didn't feel like really like in the play because I was the only female and not playing Counter Strike after classes. And like I left all this tech for a while. I finished this business studies, and then I decided to move. Like Sweden felt a little bit kind of boring. And I moved to Berlin because I was there once, and I just found an internship in this cloud provider. I had no idea about cloud, and I moved to Berlin to work in this cloud tech. I mean, later Amazon took over everything, so they don't exist anymore. And I found my way in EdTech in early 2014, and it was like still like really wild. And my first manager even asked me in the job interview if I have a smartphone. So that's what we are talking about. But I started in like working with user acquisition, then moved to B2B sales and account management. I worked with the biggest gaming companies in Europe. I was providing them like suggestions what how to monetize their games. Like it was like one of these first things where you were clicking and watching an ad and getting some coins and so on. And it was all exciting times. And I always found it like more interesting to work like with the actual development. So I wanted to not only suggest things, but also like be in the process. And what I was finding hard was actually how do you move? How do you move from one field to another? And what actually are the challenges? So if you go to the next slide. So what I was facing, and it was more my personal experience, is that I didn't have any paper qualifications. I couldn't just say like, oh, but I really like tech, you know. And I work with these companies, and I'm supporting technical people. And internally, I couldn't really move because it was a P2B product and was not really interesting for me. And I also found like what exactly is then the next step. Are you moving internally in the company, or you are actually start applying externally? Like even if you want to move, let's say, I don't know, from product to design or from design to product, what is your next step? And I found a little bit of this imposter syndrome problem. Even though I was not working in big companies, I often didn't have the courage to like just write a personal message, maybe to someone who is like a VP of product or engineering, and talk about this transition. And it's always a little bit like maybe easier to apply externally, but then how do you actually prove yourself that you are capable of doing this thing? And another thing was that if you are established into a position where you are, not only the monetary part, but also the situation, okay, maybe you're already working in one field for 5, 6, maybe 10 years. What does it mean if you are changing? Does it cost you salary-wise? Does it cost you like position-wise? Are you actually willing to step down, or you are trying to find a suitable position where you are actually still progressing not only in your field, but also in this career step? Yeah, so it was lots of these different things, and I'm really happy that I gradually moved into a product role, like full-time product role, not only like that you are actually doing work, but no one is writing it on paper. Yeah, so if you go on to the next slide, what I saw this as the advantage of my previous background working in business is that I was working with a lot of monetization products, and I'm not afraid of this topic. Every company, if they are not, let's say, non-profit, they have to make money one way or another. And yeah, that is just the hard truth. In the end of the day, we get a lot of these app reviews where they say we don't like advertising, but we need sales and stuff. So that's where you have to find the middle ground. And what I find like as an advantage in my background is that I have some financial literacy. So Then we are building business cases, and I work really closely with our business teams. Yeah, it helps to understand the other side and know what is happening, to forecast and merge the seasonalities. We are working with the intense seasonality in the football field and world, where, let's say, different seasons start at different time. Like we have a big user base in Brazil. The schedule is completely different from Europe. So let's say they start in April. Germany starts in August. What is happening during the summer months? Maybe something is going on in Europe and so on. So these big things are going on in football, while on the advertising side, there is a lot of seasonality as well, because let's say deals and budgets are being signed yearly or monthly. You have 1st of January and everything just plummets. It doesn't matter how much traffic you have, it's just there are no ads. Everyone finished the year. And so we really have to merge these things when working together with our clients. I work personally a lot with the B2B clients, where we are like have sometimes even yearly contracts which are being renewed at a certain time. So we might need to have a sneak peek of the different products at a certain time, so we would not miss the period then the deals are being signed and reviewed and so on. And yeah, I think it's also like helps me to understand the other side, that the salespeople are working with the bonuses and maybe they are sometimes quite pushy, and we need to to find the position where we actually are still there is a benefit for everyone. And at my personal situation, I'm working kind of like this B2B2C place where we have our users. It's a B2C app, and also our external network and web product. I'm mainly working with the app. But we also have B2B customers. So these are the advertisers and maybe some other networks and so on. So we can't really just say, okay, we are not doing this for you because our users maybe wrote 10 bad reviews. And this is the thing where we have to find like the middle ground and understand different audiences. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what do we do for monetization at Onefootball, and why is sometimes it's quite complicated? So a majority of our revenue is not recurring. So it means that it's based on advertising budgets. So we have a small subscription product, but it's like really, really minimal. So a lot of our stuff is basically based either on the third quote of either oh no, sorry, the last one. Either direct bookings of the programmatic ads. So what it means is that either we are just going to someone like Adidas and then we are talking with them directly, or we have all the technology plugged where the advertisers are just buying our traffic and they are bidding automatically and so on. We also have classic ads, so more like the ads you see everywhere. This is not the thing I'm working. I'm tired after 10 years, to be honest. But we work a lot on the special integrations. This is what my team is doing. Is basically having either, and this is the big thing in football, either working with the betting providers, so some kind of like integration on voting, who is going to win, or working on some special integrations. We start doing a lot of mini games, and these games can be sponsored, and maybe like mini games are also related to football. And yeah, we are trying to find let's say a sweet spot, because it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. If you start talking to a client early, then maybe they are gonna be super excited, but this project is just too big, and maybe it doesn't really cover everything up. So we need to see what is the continuation of it. How can we actually build something new, but have already the path where it grows and scales and has actually the future. But we are not just building for one client and then it goes to the trash and it's never being used again. And yeah, we have a lot of seasonality. As I said, it's a yearly and weekly seasonality. By the way, I worked at the dating app before. It was like much clearer a weekly seasonality. The peak day is Wednesday, by the way. So the peak day is Wednesday, and the lowest day is Friday. Yeah. So and these waves are happening every week. While in football it's not so strong because every league, every country, it has a different schedule. But obviously we have, if it's Champions League week, maybe it's going to be a lot on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and so on. Then football has happening on Saturday, Sunday. So it's not so clear. And we need to kind of be sure that we are ready also technically and we have enough to show and to earn from these high traffic days. And we also have a special events like this upcoming Euro here in Germany. This is like a really big deal for us. And German team is always lately not performing. So it's also a big deal for us because, yeah, everyone's hoping the best and then they are just out. And how we actually, like on advertising side, how we are measuring things. So there are this a more classic payment option in edtech, and edtech really likes all of this acronym, is called CPM. It's basically 1,000 impressions and how much you are getting for the 1,000 impressions. But there are also other things like CPI, the cost per install or action, and CPC, cost per click. Different products have different pricing on our side. So this is also something a little bit more complicated than we are building a business case. If there are like 5 clicks to action and a payout, how do you really predict the conversion? How many people are gonna log in, click, and go somewhere else, and maybe you are gonna get something in the end? Theirs is the simple, I show 1,000 ads, I get $3 kind of thing, which is a little bit more simplistic. So yeah, everything has to come together, and then yeah. And can you go to the next slide? So these special product integrations, what me and my colleague on the engineering manager side are doing is like, how do we really build a valuable business case? How do we see the coverage? Like, is it just one client, one deal is running for 3 weeks and it's gone? What is going to be the time and cost of the investment? Are we going to build it for 3 months and then it's just going to be visible for a few days and then it's gone and it's probably not really useful? And is there an interest from the other clients? How can we actually reuse it? And then how can we scale it? So obviously build it that it would be as much in the backend as possible, because obviously you don't want to release a new app version with the new naming or new button and all of these things. And how to provide necessary internal tools. That's another point. Most of the time when we're building on a small scale, everything is really manual. It creates a lot of hassle for us, also for the teams. But how do we actually establish these internal tools? We are not really an internal tool company. You know, we're supposed to build products, and how much time do we actually invest in building this? Like, what is the threshold? Is that when you're spending 3 hours a week on something? Is then everyone's pinging you on Slack on Saturdays, and you start discussing that maybe you should do it? So yeah, it's always like this question. And then, of course, is the customization, how to customize it, reuse it, and scale. And when I say customize it, it's more like legally. For example, if we are working with the betting industry, the rules in different countries are very different. Maybe in Germany and in Switzerland, you can't really show some certain information during the game, and you can show it only before the game. So of course you have to apply all of these rules on the product. But then of course the advertisers also have different needs and wants. And if you are working with the major brand in the whole world and so on, they're going to have local offices and it's going to be really complicated maybe to communicate, versus you're working with a small I don't know, small company, and then they are going to move faster, and maybe are going to be a little bit more flexible. And we are now advertising with Apple. They have a lot of rules. So like these kind of examples, you cannot just write to Apple, like, do you want to change this button language? And it's gonna go a lot for a lot of steps. So yeah, this is us. This is how we make money. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I just want to ask, is this monetization process also the iteration process applied apply to it? Like, did you kind of evolving when you designed this system?
You mean at Onefootball?
Yes, or did you just structured it from the beginning?
No. I mean, we are. I joined in the end of 2019, and of course, the monetization products were already in place, but they were like at different stages, and maybe we were like using different tools. We did like major migration on some certain things, and it's really about learning by doing, and also it's pretty complicated since we have a lot of different stakeholders involved. We want users to read a lot. We want users to like interact with the app, but you still want to change something and maybe get a little bit more on the monetary side. And then how do you work with the different teams? And maybe someone is just saying, oh, let's just put 10 banners here. But the other team is working on making article readership high. And I think this is the hardest part for us because we really need to work together. And then I joined Onefootball working on advertising the end of 2019. We were the only horizontal team and was always really hard to propose something because everyone was like owning their screen and their part and everything. So that's why, yeah, I think now we are in the better stage, but yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Hey, I was interested in the decision making for the business cases, so how that works at Onefootball for special developments, like special feature developments for advertisement agreements that you have. Like, what does that decision making process come down to, and who makes those decisions?
To be honest, sometimes you just have to do it. And sometimes it's a conversation. And it depends, if someone's saying this is a strategic decision, we really have to do it. And then we are trying to find the best way and how we can reuse it. While, let's say, huge projects are pitched together, like, if you're working with someone for a special Euro case or something like this. And of course, it's not that everyone was just like designing and doing pitch decks and then like product and engineering never seen it, even though it happened maybe once in a while, but on the smaller scale. But yeah, we are really trying to go in that direction where we're talking more and more from experience how to really how to work together, because you never really know what it actually means. Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? But the Euro starts at 11th of June, if I'm not mistaken. So there's like a certain day, So, and on development side, you never know what kind of problems you're gonna face. Yeah. In ideal world, you're just building business case and then you decide, Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned before that most of the monetization efforts are advertising based and that subscriptions for you are minimal. Do you see a future where Onefootball might put more of a focus on subscriptions and some sort of subscription model?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of options. We also have a streaming part where people can actually buy individual matches, but we are not really bundling them. Maybe that would be the option and so on. I think it's just much harder to predict your budgets and your revenue when you are working on non-recurring revenue. But to justify it in front of the users is also hard. And you probably know yourself, and people can pay €4.50 for the barn coffee, but like you have to pay €2 to your app. It's like really, really, really tough. So, and of course, another part is that we have a huge user base. €2 in Germany is €2. That are you gonna ask €2 from the users in Argentina or Chile? Then you need to adjust it, and yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Inga. Yes, so that was our last presenter of the evening. We hope you had fun. We hope you were able to connect with amazing people. I mean, that's the one I'm sure about. Yes, I also hope that you enjoyed the snacks and pizza. We still have some of them there, so you can take more of them with you. So yeah, just wanted to thank you all for being here today on behalf of Onefootball and Women TechMakers as well. And
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your presence today. Despite the issue with the tram, you're still here with us. We have the photo album. You can scan it if you want to view some pictures. And then we have a feedback form because we always appreciate feedback in order for us to do better in subsequent events. If you could scan the barcode, it takes you to the feedback form. Please help us fill it and be sincere about your feedback, positive or negative. It helps us to grow. So, yeah. Thank you to Onefootball. Thank you to all the people that organized with us. We have Andra, we have Raga, we have Ali, and all the other team members. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you having us today. And thank you to all the organizers and volunteers. We are not getting paid for what we do. We do it out of our passion. And we have one of our organizers taking pictures, one of our volunteers. We hope to see you at our next event. You can join our Slack channel, or you can check on our Meetup page. Sorry, I didn't link it here, but I can share it later. So yeah, let's take some group pictures together. And please network for a few minutes.